And forgive the sun, I am filming during the golden hour, so this melanin is getting the sun-kissed treatment. Hey guys, it's me, Tania. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you guys for clicking on this video. If this is your first time clicking on a video of mine and seeing my face, my name is Tania once again, and I'm a therapist. I'm also a certified health coach. I do mainly videos on Locs, but I also have videos on personal development, wellness, and mental health. If you're interested in any of those topics, I encourage you to go through the videos on my channel just to see what suits you. And if you do like my content, I encourage you to subscribe. If you like this video, like it, leave a comment, and also hit the notification bell if you're interested in future content. So without further ado, let's get into the topic of this video, which is interlocking. So these questions that I'm about to answer are in no particular order. This video is mainly for people who are looking into interlocking, whether it be doing it yourself or going to a professional to get your interlocking done. So I'm going to give you some insight into my personal experience with interlocking my locks. For those who do not know the history of my locks are almost 4.5 years old, and I started my locks with my mother. They are traditional locks. They're on the thinner side, and I maintain my locks myself. I've had so much, joy just from cultivating my locks, and I've grown as a person, and I just want to make videos just showing my lock experience or talking about my lock experience as to help people get encouragement and really learn how to take care of their own hair if that's what they choose to do. So without further ado, let's get into this video, okay? So the first question I'm going to answer is, why did I get into interlocking? And before I even answer that question, I want to tell you, I guess in layman terms, what interlocking is. Interlocking is essentially taking the end of a lock and weaving it into the new growth as to tighten. It's a form of retightening versus retwisting or palm rolling, okay? Now, why did I get into interlocking? I got into interlocking because I wanted a way to keep my hair tighter without having to worry about it reverting. And what I mean by reverting is unraveling. I noticed that whenever I would do my retwist, they would not last a few days, if that. I don't know if it's because of the texture of my hair or how active I was, because when I did start my locks, I was very much so in the gym. I sweat a lot, and I just knew that retwisting and palm rolling was just not it. So that's why I started to get into interlocking. I started my interlocking in 2015. That's actually the next question. When did I start my interlocking process? I started in November 2015, about 7 months into my locking journey, and this was only after I did so much research. I did so much research on interlocking because I knew it could be risky if you do it yourself. So I wanted to make sure that I had an idea of the benefits and the risk when it came to interlocking my hair as well as doing it myself. The next question is, what place does interlocking have in my regimen? Now, I interlock 3 to 4 times a year, basically quarterly, okay? And I really interlock, honestly, to just keep my hair from going into a freeform stage. Now, I love freeform locks. I love the aesthetic of freeform locks, but I appreciate the semi-freeform look better. So I interlock to keep my hair separate, but I don't necessarily care for the clean scalpy look as well. I do it 3 to 4 times a year, and in between my interlock sessions, I do a light retwist. And what I mean by light retwist is I'm sitting on the couch, I have my aloe vera gel, and I'm essentially just breaking my hair apart, breaking the roots apart, and I am palm rolling or just retwisting the roots. If I notice that I have some frizz, I'll literally palm roll down the shaft of the locks, but essentially that's what my light retwist entails. Nothing more, nothing less. I really don't care for clean part. I am part of the dirty part gang, coined by me and my husband, dirty part gang. And I really don't care for that scalpy look, okay? The next question is, when was the last time that you interlocked? Now, the last time that I interlocked, this is September 20th, 2019. I would say it will be the last week of August. So 3 weeks ago. And I actually have a video of me taking down my braided Bantu knot style right after I interlocked. And I only, like I said, interlock 3 to 4 times a year. And usually if you see my hair in any of my videos in a braid out style, that's probably a time that I interlock. So my interlock usually lasts about 3 to 4 weeks before they start to like get before that new growth starts to settle in again. And I really don't mind that, because I know I'd rather have the 3 to 4 weeks with the interlock than the 3 to 4 days with the retwist. That's usually how long a retwist lasts on my hair. The next question is, how do I interlock? I interlock using a safety pin. I'm not saying that this is isn't a risky way of interlocking your hair, and neither am I telling people watching this video to go get a safety pin and start interlocking your hair. I'm saying this is what works for me. I get a safety pin and I use the north, south, east, west method. I'll try to find some videos and link them in the description box below, but I use that method. And whenever I'm interlocking, I never pass, and I'm going to address this in a question coming up, but I never pass through the same way twice. That is what creates holes in your locks, and that's why a lot of people look at interlocking, especially if you're doing it yourself, as dangerous, because you can create holes in your locks, and that is not good at all. Next question is, what have you noticed about your locks since interlocking? I noticed that my locks, whenever in that 3 to 4 week phase, whenever my interlock is fresh, I noticed that I have less frizz at the roots, and of course my style, it lasts longer. I'm generally interlock to keep my hair neat if I have special occasions or something of that matter. So generally it just keeps my hair looking neater for a longer period of time than retwist. I noticed that my roots are less frizzy. The next question is, what are the risks with interlocking? So I kind of already mentioned that interlocking, especially if you're doing it yourself, can be very risky, and I don't suggest people who are if they don't know their hair or locks in general, and if you're a newbie, I don't suggest getting into interlocking, because it can be risky as far as damaging your hair, whether it be thinning at the roots, creating holes, or just retightening too tight. So if you are if you're aware of the risk, and you're willing to take on that risk and that liability, and you're like, whatever, I'm gonna do it anyway, then hey, more power to you. I am not a loctician, but yeah. The next question is, which type of lock wearers would appreciate the locking method the most? I would say people who are very active in the gym, or just people who tend to sweat a lot in the scalp or in their hair, and people who really can't hold a retwist, people whose hair really can't hold a retwist for a long time. Those people will probably appreciate the interlocking method the most, because they get the most bang for their buck as far as keeping that neater look for a longer period of time. And now I'm getting into more so, not a question, but tips. Now, if you are going to accept the risk for interlocking your own hair and DIYing your interlocking, these are some tips that I would suggest for you. Don't do it too often. Please don't, because your hair needs time. As I mentioned in my Thin Locks, a non-professional perspective video, your hair needs time to recover. If you are constantly interlocking your hair, you're asking for your hair to thin out and essentially break off. So don't do it too often. That's why I only interlock my hair 3 to 4 times a year. Also, don't retighten or interlock too close to your scalp. Like, leave a little bit of leeway or give. Like, I leave probably about that much. I leave at least like 2 centimeters of new growth out whenever I'm doing my interlocking, because I do not want my hair to thin out. I don't want that knot whenever it's being retightened to be too tight. That leads to thinning down the shaft and breaking off. You don't want that. And yeah, don't pass through the same way right after each other. Like if you're doing the north, south, east, west method, do not go through the same way twice. That's what creates a hole in your locks. Now, also just look at as many interlocking videos as you can if you're considered DIY and you're interlocking, because honestly, it can be risky if you're doing it yourself. Also, the last question is, would I suggest DIY interlocking to lock wearers? And I think if you've been listening to my answers, you kind of have an implication of what my answer is going to be. It would probably be no for the most part. There are exceptions. If you are open to the risk and if you know what you're doing, then hey, go for it. But if you're interested in interlocking, my general answer would probably be to go to a professional to at least get your first experience, and then you can contemplate whether or not you feel like you can do it yourself. Like if you are thinking about interlocking, do as much research as you can. If you really want to get into it, you know, maybe consult with a professional. But if you really think you can do it yourself, you've done all your research, you know the do's and don'ts, then who am I to tell you no? You know, it's your hair, it's coming out of your scalp. I appreciate you guys, and forgive the sun. I am filming during the golden hour, so this melanin is getting the sun-kissed treatment. If you have any other suggestions in regards to interlocking, leave them in the comments below. I am not making this video to either push interlocking on someone or to say it's a bad thing. I'm just giving you insight into my experience. And if you're interested in any of my other lock videos, check out Me and My Locs playlist, where I have about 28 videos on that. And I also have a playlist that talks about my experience with washing my locks and keeping them moisturized and all of that. Check out that. So Fresh and So Clean. I think that's what it's called. And if you like this video, like it, comment, subscribe if you like my content. Until the next video.